Yo, what is going on YouTube? I am Germ here. In this video today, I wanted to give a little update on G2 Esports and kind of where they stand at this point in the offseason. Obviously, it seems like they have a mostly completed roster for 2022, but they still have a couple of players lying around that they're trying to sell off that we don't exactly know what's going on. But there is some updates and some info that we can talk about. But first, I would like to ask if you guys could please check out the first link in the description below for my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/I_am_germ. I've been streaming a lot recently. It's been a ton of fun, and I would love it if you came and hang out with us sometime as well. That'd be absolutely awesome. Make sure you guys drop a follow. Consider dropping a prime, maybe a sub. But with that being said, let's get right into this one. G2, their rumored roster at this point, which has pretty much all but been confirmed by Carlos, is going to be Broken Blade in the top lane with Jankos and Caps, a really solid mid-jungle duo to kind of round out the roster, and then Flockhead and Targamas in the bot lane, a very young, inexperienced bot lane to pair up with, the veteran mid-jung duo, and then BB, he's been around the block a couple times as well. Some people are really hyped up and excited about this roster, potentially being the future of G2 Esports, and some people are even hyped up about how good this team could be next year. There's rumors that they were doing really well against like EDG and scrims and stuff like this, but some people are very disappointed as well. Like, we kicked Rekkles for some rookie, we're kicking Miky for some rookie, we're kicking Wunder for Broken Blade. That's a downgrade. There's really every single opinion on G2's offseason so far. I put out a poll like, do you think G2 had a good offseason or bad? And I swear it was like 51-49 or something. It seems like people are just all over the place. But Carlos is saying he's confident. He's saying, hey, we're going to be good in 2022. We're still going to try and win Worlds. We're going to win the LEC, all this stuff. So that's kind of where we're at with that. But there is still these other players that have been replaced, that Carlos announced were getting benched, kicked, replaced, sold off, whatever, like a month ago. Miky, Wunder, Rekkles. They still all don't have teams, and there's not really a ton of rumors revolving these guys either. And now, more and more teams are starting to lock in players. They're starting to lock in their roster more and more. And these guys are running out of places to go. So we can take a look by starting with the Wooloo spreadsheet, where he has, the green is what he says agreements are done for. The white means he doesn't know, he can't say. Blue means that they're likely to stay. So you'll see there's only a couple of different spots here. You have Wunder, a top laner, obviously. Fnatic potentially is an open top lane position if Adam does get sold off to BDS. But if Adam gets sold off to BDS, then BDS has a top lane spot closed. And that would potentially leave us with 3 top lane spots. And yes, Wunder could go to Fnatic. That's very possible, but, we'll see where he ends up. I don't think Excel is going to end up with Wunder, but again, maybe. And Rogue, Wooloo does think that Odoamne is able to stay, or most likely to stay, pending that roster blowing up even further than it potentially already has, losing Hansama and maybe losing Inspired as well. But maybe 2 top lane spots open. Maybe Wunder will be one of them. Maybe he won't. Who knows? And yes, there's maybe some North American teams that might be interested in all these players as well, but NA can only import so many players. I mean, we already have so many European players over there, and after Wunder, Miky, Rekkles, these guys are kind of coming off a disappointing season. It just doesn't seem like anyone is necessarily jumping out to snag any of these players off buyout. Obviously, when we look at Miky, as far as supports, Wooloo does think that Trimby is going to be returning to Rogue, and then the only other support position open is going to be Misfits, and Miky could go to Misfits. That's very possible. But again, does Misfits want to pay that buyout for Miky? Do they have the money? Do they want to spend the money on something like that? Would they rather grab an ERL player for cheaper that maybe has more potential going forward into the future? I don't know. And then again, there's going to be some North American options for Miky, but Wooloo does have this McDonald's team over here of Wunder, Sven, Leader, Rekkles, and Miky. 5 players that are slowly kind of seeming like the odd guys out. And the reason why Wunder and Miky are blue for Wooloo is because he thinks that Wunder, Miky, and Leader specifically are really struggling to find teams at this point. Vitality struggling to sell off Leader. That's not super surprising to me. But G2, potentially struggling to sell off Wunder and Miky. Now, obviously, there's Rekkles in that mix too. But I know we've talked about the Rekkles buyout and stuff already. Carlos says it's 1.5 million euros. Maybe he said it was 2. Maybe it's 1.5. Maybe it's dropping by the day or the hour or the minute or whatever. But Wooloo is much more confident in Rekkles being able to find a team than he is about Wunder and Miky. And I think that is very, very interesting and kind of crazy. If you would have said a year ago that Wunder and Miky were going to be struggling to find a team, that would be crazy. Now, is it because teams don't want them? Is it because the buyout's too high? Is it because Carlos, is being stingy or whatever? I don't know exactly for sure, but Carlos did tweet this out, and this is, I think a very, very interesting tweet where he tweeted, Wunder and Miky beating EDG, again, talking about those scrims where potentially G2 or, some combination of G2 players, some combination of their old and new players was scrimming against EDG, or Wunder and Miky were probably, I think Wunder and Miky were playing on that Team McDonald's that was scrimming against EDG as well, and also doing very, very good and beating EDG in some scrims. So he does say, Wunder and Miky beating EDG with a mix just before they won Worlds is insane. Whoever buys them off their contracts will be incredibly lucky to have them. Now, to some people, it's just Carlos talking about his players, reminding people that they're up for buyout, hyping up their players a little bit, but to me, this almost reeks a little bit of desperation. This reeks of Carlos, thinking that he was going to be able to sell off these guys for a ton of money, be able to sell them off very, very easily. Wunder and Miky are MSI champions, they're world finalists, they're world semifinalists. They've got to be worth something. I just sold off perks for all these millions last year. I saw all this money that was being thrown around at all these different players. Alfari got a bunch of money, Jensen got a bunch of money, Swordart got a bunch of money, and now all of a sudden, I think this is a very, very bad look for Carlos, because I think this is, again, it sounds a little bit desperate to me, but it's also like, is anyone going to buy Wunder and Miky? And that's what brings me back to the spreadsheet for Wooloo, and kind of where this theory is coming from is that this blue, Wooloo actually said on stream, he thinks it is possible that Carlos might not find a spot to sell these guys, and he might potentially consider sitting on their contracts starting out the 2022 season to see if, maybe between spring and summer, or maybe later on down the road, that somebody will bite on some of these buyouts. And that is very, very crazy to me, because that is not something we've ever really seen before. But I actually think that Carlos played this very, very poorly, because he announced, a couple weeks ago, whatever, that they were going to be benching Wunder, going to be benching Rekkles, going to be benching Miky, that they were going to try and sell them off, that they were going to be replacing them, all this stuff. And once you do something like that, those players lose a ton of value. You lose a ton of negotiating power. If you want to sell players off, and we see this in traditional sports all the time, even if you're not interested in keeping them at all, you still outwardly have to say, yeah, we might consider keeping them. Yeah, we're taking offers for them, but I have no problem, rolling into next season with them, anything like that. Because then you always have in your back pocket, if somebody's negotiating with you poorly, you can just say, okay, that's fine. I'll keep my great players, and you'll have to be competing against them next year, and we'll run you over, and we'll make the playoffs, we'll go to Worlds, all this stuff. But once you are benching them, you've replaced them already, the other teams know there's no way you're going to hang on to them. The other teams know you are very, very desperate to get rid of them and sell them, especially when you start tweeting about Rekkles all the time. You're posting about Rekkles on Reddit. You're tweeting about Miky and Wunder, how great they are, how lucky somebody's going to be to have them. The other teams know that, hey, whatever the buyout is right now, maybe I'll wait a week or two. We'll see if Carlos brings that buyout down. Carlos, you're really going to keep Wunder and Miky on your bench throughout the season? You're really going to continue to pay their salary while they're not even playing for you? You're really going to continue to pay their salary and Broken Blade and Flockhead and Targamas and all these people? Or maybe you'll sell them off for a little bit cheaper. And I kind of love how the other LEC teams are handling this situation and how they're dealing with Carlos, because obviously Carlos has been a very, very ruthless negotiator and businessman in the past. But again, I do not think Carlos played this well at all. I think G2 is getting to a very, very weird and desperate point in their offseason. And obviously, they already have their lineup signed. They're probably comfortable and happy with what they have going forward. I think everything's going to be okay. But still, as a business, they thought they were going to be able to sell these players off, make some money. And all of a sudden, it's not looking too good. But it also sucks for, Wunder, Miky, and Rekkles to kind of be caught in the middle of this whole thing. It's going to be interesting to see where they end up, what teams end up, and how 2020 goes for them as well. But it is definitely possible that they might get stuck in contract prison. They might, start the 2022 season sitting out, which would be super, super weird to see the LEC without them. But that is pretty much it for this video today, guys. Definitely drop a like if you did enjoy. I would appreciate it so much. Leave a comment down below. Where do you think Wunder, Miky, Rekkles are going to end up, should end up? I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions. Subscribe, save today, and all my latest content. Hopefully catch you guys in the next one. But until then, peace!